Hi, my name's Mark Powell and I want to talk to you about why divers do stupid things. The short answer is because divers are stupid. Now, apologies if that's offended anybody, but if we look at the evidence, if you read some of the recent incidents that have occurred, you might be wondering, how could they possibly do that? How could they not realise that that wasn't a good idea? And the truth is, they probably did know it was a bad idea and went and did it anyway. We can stop almost all diving accidents. I could stop diving accidents like that if I could just force people to actually do what they were told to do in their training. You know that, I know that, everybody knows that, and yet people still don't do it. So today I want to look at why people do stupid things. Now, there's lots of evidence of stupid things, and as you can see here, quite often it involves alcohol. Now, hopefully when we're diving it's not going to involve alcohol too much, but we still do stupid things. Now, we're lucky. Sometimes stupid people come labelled, but not always, and I see very few divers that are labelled as stupid. So if we can't tell the stupid divers, if we can't tell who's going to do something stupid, how can we know who's going to make mistakes? Well, the truth is, we can all make mistakes. It doesn't matter how experienced you are. In fact, in many ways, the more experienced you are, it's likely that you may well be more likely to do something stupid. And that's because when we're under pressure, we freeze up, we tense up, we make mistakes, and afterwards we think, why did I do that? So, for example, you can see this in game shows all the time. What is George W. Bush's first name? Let me think about that. Under pressure, you're going to make a stupid mistake, or you may make a stupid mistake. And the reason for that is because it's human error. We're all human, and there's not much we can change about that. Those of you that are old enough to remember the original Star Trek series, the character of Spock in Star Trek, logical, rational, always would come up with the answer that logic dictated. And a lot of the stories were about the fact that that was often the wrong thing to do. So you wouldn't want Spock as a dive buddy. In more recent series, Data the android played the same role, or in the Voyager series, 7 of 9 played the same role. And of course, you wouldn't want 7 of 9 as your dive buddy, would you? Although I can see some of the audience may be disagreeing with that one. So if we make mistakes, and it's inevitable that people will make mistakes, the best thing we can do is try and learn from those mistakes. More usefully, though, we can try and learn from other people's mistakes. Benjamin Franklin is always a good source of quotes. Experience is a dear teacher, but a fool learns from no other. In other words, learning from your own mistakes is important, but actually you don't need to make all the mistakes yourself. You can learn from other people's mistakes. And in technical diving, we use the idea of accident analysis. Let's look at an accident, see what went wrong, see exactly why it went wrong, the actual underlying root causes, recognizing there may be multiple root causes, and then most importantly, put something in place to make sure that it doesn't happen again. Now, sometimes when we do accident analysis, it's pretty obvious why things went wrong. Sometimes it's about equipment failure. In this incident, it's about equipment failure, and this particular guy is about to have a pretty serious accident. But in diving, and especially technical diving, it's rarely an equipment failure that causes a problem. The whole point of technical diving, redundancy. So if this breaks, we've got an alternative. So a single failure shouldn't cause an accident. Very often it's our reaction to the failure that causes the problem. But realistically, for most diving incidents, it's poor judgment, poor planning, putting yourself in a situation that you're not comfortable with. That is the actual source of many accidents. Many accidents we can stop before we get in the water by preparing adequately. There's a concept called the Swiss cheese model, which says that actually we've got lots of different ways of avoiding an accident, and any one of those can stop an accident happening. So in this case, you can see that the holes don't line up, and therefore the accident doesn't happen because we don't get a path through all of the checks. Whereas in this case, all of the holes have lined up and an accident can occur. This can be avoided even if we just block up one of those holes. If we block up two, we've got a much better chance of avoiding the accident. The more we block up, the more chance we've got of avoiding an accident. I said earlier that the more experienced we are, sometimes the more likely we are to have an accident, which is slightly counterintuitive. You would think that as you gain experience, you would become more competent. You do, but the danger is you become more complacent, and complacency is one of the biggest risks in diving. You can make a mistake, you can do something stupid, and if you get away with it, maybe you think, well, because I'm a great diver, I can break that rule. I don't need to follow that rule. But the truth is, just because you get away with something stupid once doesn't mean you're going to get away with it again. As this cute little deer is about to find out. It's made this mistake before and got away with it. It's about to learn that complacency is a big mistake. And we get complacent because we underestimate the risks of diving. Diving is perfectly safe as long as you remember how dangerous it is. A rebreather that I own has got emblazoned on the side of it, this device will kill you without warning. And that's a pretty dire warning, but actually makes you think about what you're doing. It makes you concentrate on what you're doing, and sometimes we forget to do that. Now, it's not our fault. We are optimistic by nature. In fact, evolution has hardwired us to be optimistic. If individually, optimism might get you killed, but as a species, optimism drives us forward. It promotes us to take risks, to explore new areas, to try something, and it pushes the species forward as a whole. But in an individual case, optimism may not be a good idea. And optimism is sometimes just a case of not having enough information. This diver here giving the OK signal, well, maybe they don't have the whole picture. So we're optimistic, we're over-optimistic in some cases, and you get what's sometimes called a boiling frog syndrome, which is where the idea is that if you drop a frog into a pot of boiling water, it'll decide that's a really bad idea and hop straight out. If you put a frog into lukewarm water and slowly increase the temperature, it will stay there until it boils to death, or some kind soul rescues the frog. No frogs were harmed in the making of this video. And it's the same when we're diving. We get a little equipment problem. That's fine, I can deal with that. Something else happens. Our buddy drops out. That's okay, I'll dive with someone else. The site changes. That's fine. I know that site, but I'm sure I can find where we're going. And these things build up and up and up and up. And individually, any of them we could deal with. But put them all together and they start to build into a situation where we can't deal with it and an incident happens. The other reason why accidents happen or people do stupid things is that we think we can believe our own eyes. We think we're pretty good at spotting things. But let's see how true that is. Take a look at this video.
This is an awareness test. How many passes does the team in white make?
Go!
The answer is 13. But did you see the moonwalking bear?
Now, those of you thought you were pretty observant, did you see the moonwalking bear? No? You looked straight at that video, you concentrated on it, and you didn't see something as obvious as that. So if you can miss that, do you think it's possible that you might miss something else? You may not see an accident developing, you may not see a problem. What about this? How many triangles can you see on that picture? Well, the truth is, there are no triangles on that picture. What your brain is doing is it's recognizing patterns. That's what we're very good at. It's seeing the pattern. Were you looking at the white area in the middle? Were you looking at the black lines? None of those are actually a triangle. None of those are a three-sided figure. But your brain wants to see patterns. It's picking up patterns. So not only do you not see the things that are there, but now you're seeing things that aren't there. Okay? And if that sounds a little bit like too matrixy for you, then what if I told you that you just read the top line incorrectly? So we make mistakes. But okay, that's fine for tricks like this. But what about hard, cold logic? We're doing calculations. We're thinking logically. Okay, well, let's try a logic puzzle. Take a look at these two triangles here. Now, you can count the squares along the bottom and up the side. The triangles are the same size. You look at the individual shapes that make up the triangle. You can see the red one on the left is exactly the same size. Count the dimensions as the red one in the bottom square. All of the individual components are the same size. Okay, so where did that gap come from? If you're still wondering where that came from, if you're still wondering how come you've got a space there, it's because you accepted something that I said earlier. You accepted that these two were triangles. They're not perfect triangles. The top one, the top line, bows slightly down. And the second one bows slightly up. Okay? And so they're not equal, and that's where the extra space goes. But the minute you accepted my statement that there were triangles, you were never going to be able to use logic to sort that problem out. So if you've got an incorrect assumption, you can use logic but still get to the wrong answer. Last example, take a look at these playing cards. Okay, I'm going to show you these playing cards for a couple of seconds, and I want you to memorize them. Okay? Now, do you remember what playing cards you just saw? Okay, well, let's take another look at them. The one on the end, what did you remember that as? Three of spades or the three of clubs? Some of you might have said that that was the three of spades because you looked at the shape and the colour. Some of you might have saw it as the three of hearts because you looked at more the shape rather than the colour. It's not a valid playing card, but now we can get the situation where different people see the same things depending on the way that they think. So you see things that aren't there. You don't see the things that are there, and different people make different mistakes. So it's no wonder that we read our PPO2 wrong on our gauges. We try and solve a problem that isn't really there. We try and solve the wrong problem because we're human. The last reason why we do stupid things is peer pressure. Do you remember the first time you drank beer or the first time you smoked? Did you enjoy it? No, probably not. And yet, I don't smoke, but I do drink beer, and I enjoy it now. And I'm persevered through peer pressure. And there's lots of negative things. I'm not saying beer is a negative thing at all, but there's lots of negative things that we do because of peer pressure. Gang culture, fights, warfare. A lot of it is through peer pressure. And in the diving world, unfortunately, there are some negative aspects of peer pressure. This false macho culture, especially in tech diving. I'm a big, tough tech diver, therefore I do things by the skin of my pants. It's not true at all. Most tech divers are actually, or the best tech divers, are very meticulous, careful, thorough divers. So we can sometimes get this incorrect impression. In some groups, you get this almost being proud of breaking the rules. So peer pressure can be very, very negative within a diving environment, but it doesn't have to be. It can be very, very positive. If you've got a strong group of good divers who positively encourage each other, who don't allow unsafe practices, who feel free, feel happy to call the dive at any reason for any time, then we can stop some of these problems. You may make mistakes, but if you stop them before they progress, if you seal up the holes in the Swiss cheese, then sometimes we can avoid some of those stupid mistakes, and we can avoid making stupid mistakes even though we may sometimes act a little bit stupid. Thank you very much.